Hey, Mega Moms. Jessica Hensley here and Stefanie Stockberger. And
Hello.
today we're going to be talking about how to keep your spirits up and be motivated and excited, even in the middle of a challenging season. Good morning, Stefanie.
Good morning.
I just love doing the podcast with you. I'm so glad you're back.
Thank you. I love doing it with you too. Gets me
Uh,
off to a good start in the morning.
It does. And I'm excited about this topic. I think that, in different ways, you and I have had different challenges this year. And really, I think a lot of our moms, I mean, it's just part of life, right? We have ups and downs. There's always going to be something coming our way. So, how can we keep our spirits high, stay motivated, and just keep going, even when things are challenging?
Yeah, absolutely. We both definitely have had challenges, and I think a lot of our ladies are having challenges, at least, market challenges. There's a lot of things that are up in the air right now. So we really have to kind of look inward a little bit and just kind of, take care of ourselves. And I think that making you a priority is important.
Yeah, I mean, that's so important. It's easy to slip into judging others and being fixated on others' actions and not to focus on yourself. And I think that that's probably one of the biggest takeaways that I've had is, all I can control is my own actions, and all I can do is improve my own business and my life, right? So I can't control others. I mean, it just comes down to it, and have to kind of live and let live, right? And try to do the best we can.
Yeah, so that kind of brings me to one of my first points with this is boundaries. This has always been a challenge for me. It is hard because I do want to please everyone. I want to be there for everyone, but I think it's really important to, pick a couple people or situations that you decide that if you are going to make those boundary changes, would it change your life? Would it make you happier? Is it the right thing to do? And actually make an action plan on how you can set those boundaries. I am in the middle of doing this very thing, and a lot of it has to do with my health conditions. I have just decided that there are certain things that I can no longer do for people, and I'm going to have to let them know that. So I think that's important. It is so hard to do. I think if you approach it in a way where you sit down with your friend, family, or whoever it is, and just say, a lot of it has happened in my life. And that has gotten me to assess, how I live. And unfortunately, I won't be able to do X any longer. Or unfortunately, I won't be able to do this any longer because of this. And kind of just explain to them, and hopefully they're people that love you, that it's no longer in your best interest. And that is difficult, but if you do that just to one or two people, it would change your world.
Yeah, that's so important stuff. I mean, you're right. It's important for us to set boundaries. And I think it's interesting, talking about sort of assessing the people that we're surrounding ourselves with, assessing our relationships, because really boundaries are more for us, right? They're more for us than they are for other people. And people are only going to respect them if we respect our boundaries. So it's like, for example, we talk about with our mega moms to set boundaries around your time with your clients. And we suggest that you have like a start time and an end time, and then you honor it. So I actually had an agent yesterday. She was messaging me pretty late, and which is kind of her MO. I mean, that she's just kind of a late person, which is fine for her, but that's something, a boundary I've set for myself. But here I am catching myself responding thinking about it instead of just like putting it on do not disturb until the next day. Because in this particular case, there wasn't multiple offers. There really was no urgency, other than just feeling, when somebody messages you, I don't know about you, Stephanie, but I kind of like, it's like I like to have things closed, if that makes sense. Like, you know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
it's hard for me to rest until I've had my say. And so something I've been trying to teach myself this year is like, you don't have to respond to every text message or maybe every um antagonizing passive aggressive comment. You don't have to respond. And
Let
that's
me comment on that for you,
okay.
girl. Okay. So, if someone texts you and yeah, your first response is, I want to text them back, I want to, let them know and close it for tonight. If you decide to let it go and not do anything, sometimes it just works out better. You've had time to think, which I think is important, but then they've had time to think too. I don't think a lot can get done, especially if it's a heated conversation or whatever that the case is at 7 o'clock at night or 8 o'clock at night. And especially not immediately. And not that I want to hold it back from the other person. I just don't think that it's good to just quickly respond. And I think it's okay that you wait until the next day when you've had rest over the night, when you've been able to tuck your kids into bed, you've been able to say your prayers, you've been able to do all the things. Normally, the next day is just better.
Have you ever heard this concept? I'm going to mute you while I'm talking. Sorry. It had an echo for a second. Have you ever heard of this concept of when you're like in this right before you go to sleep or when you wake up and you're like not quite awake, where your brain just starts solving problems? Have you ever noticed that? So I guess that's another benefit, right, of sleeping on it because as you're resting and going to sleep, and this happens to me too, like I'll wake and I'm like, oh, that's how I'm going to solve this problem. And it's almost like God brought it to me and it was like, okay, but it's my brain, working it out for me. So
For sure. And, last night I had a couple things that came up that, again, I wanted to make the decisions last night. So I felt like I could rest. But I woke up this morning and I had a doctor's appointment and I have to lay on this table for 20 minutes without a phone, just listening to music. And I solved a lot in that 20 minutes. And I'm ready to go for today. So I think that giving it the night, taking some time to actually think about it without all the distractions is a good deal.
awesome. I love that first point, Steph. Thank you for bringing that. So the first point is set boundaries. And remember, boundaries are for yourself just as much as they are for other people. You have to honor your own boundaries before anyone else will. So, what other things can we do to keep our spirits high and to remain motivated?
Well, what helps me is getting some kind of physical activity. And when I was younger, I was incredibly athletic, or not incredibly, I was athletic. I don't know if I was incredible. Okay. So, but I was very active. And so with the physical challenges that I've had, I've noticed that, the anxiety kind of gets caught in my body a little more. And I feel like I just want to come out and start going. So even walking, if I have something stressful that's going on, or if I can't clearly think, and I'm trying to do, either business or business planning, whatever the case is, just walking. I don't walk fast, but I love to walk. And after I'm done walking, again, things are more clear. So I do think that really helps. Even just, 10, 15 minutes of walking, getting out into the fresh air, feeling the sunshine. I think that's important for me. What about you?
Yeah. No, I love that. And I for so last year I made a decision to hire a personal trainer and I loved it. It was really good. I did find that I was pushing myself beyond what I probably should do. So I think maybe for me there was sort of a ditch on the other side of the road of maybe being too active or putting my body under too much stress. But I love the walking. That's definitely, easy or not stressful. Sometimes when we're just going through a stressful time, I don't know, everyone's different, but for me, adding on stress it just wasn't working. It was too much. And then the other thing is, so last year my personal trainer was like, you need to get in 10,000 steps. So if you're tracking your steps, especially when you have a job like we do, which is sitting behind a computer most of the days, getting in that many steps is really hard. So I had to intentionally go on walks, and I found myself not motivated to do it by myself. So I used it as a networking opportunity and just relationship building opportunity. So I found several girls that I enjoy walking with and just fellowshipping with. And that has helped a lot too. So it's like non real estate, not somebody that I work with, just a true friend. And I'm not from this area. I didn't grow up here. I don't have like high school friends here. So it's just been really helpful to make a connection and to do something productive while I'm doing it. So,
I love that. Do you want to walk to me and I'll meet you halfway?
ooh, that might be a long walk, but yeah.
Just next year, maybe.
When we're together, we walk, don't we? Yeah.
Yeah, I love walking too. So yeah, that's a really good idea. I mean, like, it doesn't have to be crazy. What I've noticed is if I don't put like a requirement on it, I enjoy it more. Like, yes, I
Yeah.
know about the 10,000 steps and all those things, but I walk. I try to find scenery I like and, walk around water, walk in woods, whatever the case is, just enjoy it. And then typically I end up walking more.
Yeah. So have a goal. If you're feeling down, if you're going through something hard, set boundaries and then have a goal to be physically active in some way. Doesn't have to be, super stressful. It can just be as simple as a 5 minute, 10-minute walk, but get out of the house, get your body moving. And I also believe that there's some hormones that's part of it, like the endorphins that are released. So, yeah, that's a great tip. So, what else would you say we should do?
Well, I think taking care of mental health, and that can mean a lot of things. So, I actually see a counselor, and it was once a week, and now it's once every other week. And she's helping me with coping skills for pain management. And I would have never thought about that. And then when I did think about it, I'm like, that's silly. I mean, like, why? I mean, why would she be able to help me? And honestly, it is just so good to go in there and just let it all out. And then she gives me coping strategies, breathing, just reminding me to take 5 minutes to, consider like really how bad is this? Can I do this? And then the other things along with mental health are, I think, enjoying hobbies, which I'm really trying. I don't know if I told you, I want to stamp. I used to stamp years ago. So I'm trying to stamp. So I'm trying to use a different part of my brain.
Do you
Um, you,
mean like for making cards and stuff like that?
yeah, you
I
might get a
used to do
Christmas
that
card.
too.
Yes, girl. I am so excited about this. So, trying something different, trying to use a different part of my mind. It doesn't always have to be so driven and, about business. So I think mental health, whatever that is for you, just taking care of that, and doing something for yourself.
Yeah, and it is so easy when we're especially those that are watching or listening that you're more of a top producer and you have a high volume. So I really my goal is to close 100 deals a year. And even though I have a team, there's still a mental, toll that happens. And it's really easy for me to be a workaholic and to only think about work in some way, shape, or form, coaching or real estate from the time I wake up to the time I go to sleep. So, what I have noticed, like what you're saying, is having something else to keep my mind occupied that has nothing to do with real estate, has nothing to do with, coaching or making money in any way. That's really helpful. And we may be talking about this later, Stephanie, so interrupt me if we are. But I was just sharing, I had got out of the habit of reading my Bible and not too far out of the habit. I think I kind of slacked for like a month. But I typically read my Bible every day. And last year, if you followed me very long, I invited everybody to do this read your Bible in a year with me on the Bible app. And if, by the way, if you want to be invited, let me know. Just comment below and I will send you an invite. But we're doing it with Tara Lee Cobble. It's called the Bible Recap. And it's just like 2 to 4 chapters at the most daily. You read it, and I actually read and listen at the same time. I feel like I absorb more and understand more when I do that. Then you listen to the podcast that she does that goes along with what was read. And so she recaps it, and she's like, this is what this story means. Here's what stood out to me. And even though I've grown up in church, I've read the Bible through many times, I always take something away that it's a different perspective that I just didn't think about before. And it's just been so great. So I've gotten back in the habit of doing that. And then something else that our dear integrator here at Mega Moms, Katie, reminded me of. She's like, girl, you used to write down what you were thankful for every day. Are you doing that anymore? And I'm like, no, I'm not. And she's like, it works. Why don't you do that? So I got a new journal. Something about a new notebook is so inspiring, right? We went on a mini vacation to Branson last week, and I had a mission to find a really cute notebook. And so I came home with a couple of them, and I'm actually writing my prayers out. So I'm actually, praising God, which my relationship with God, my faith is like, it is the cornerstone. And when that goes away, everything else starts to fall, right? So I praise God. I thank Him for all of the blessings. And so that's where I'm writing what I'm grateful for. And then I'm asking Him for things. And my intention here, I'm going to be documenting my prayer request. And I'm, dating each page, writing what I read in the Bible, praising, thinking, and then I'm asking. And then when I ask, I'm going to go back and I'm going to watch God answer our prayers because He does care for us, even the little things.
I love that. Going back to, basically taking care of yourself and the mental health. I mean, God is really the ticket to, I think, for me anyway, mental health, everything with mental health. I mean, first, everything starts with God for me. And I feel like God provided counselors to help me through things. And I go to Christian counselors, so they know my faith and they can help inspire me. So that is so good. And then also the thankfulness in the morning, Jess, I mean, that does make all the difference in the world. I set a timer, and for 5 minutes, the very beginning of the day, I write what I'm thankful for and why and how it makes me feel. Because I think if you go into the day and you are thankful, it's really hard to get sad. You might get sad. I mean, I can't tell you won't, but it's harder to get sad when you walk into your life in your day thankful. So I love that you do that. And the Bible thing that you're doing, I've always been one where I go, if I'm having an issue, I research it in the Bible. I've never been good about reading the Bible, so I need to take you up on your challenge. I've never just read the Bible, so I need to take you up on your challenge.
That would be awesome stuff. It's funny because I grew up in church. My dad was a pastor, and that was something when I was always pushed to read the Bible through. And what I would end up doing is like I'd read a chapter or a book here and there, and so and I was in every service, of course. So I felt like, oh, well, I've read it through. But when I became an adult, my husband, who was a baby Christian at the time, his brother encouraged him to read the Bible through. And I watched him do it. And I'm like, well, I guess I mean, why haven't I? Almost felt convicted. And so a young adult, I started doing that. And I will tell you, it has opened my eyes because you see how things weave together, the whole Bible. That's why it's so cool. It is the inspired word of God, and it's more evident, I feel, when you read it in its entirety, because you can see how, oh yeah, He talked about that in the Old Testament and the New Testament, and it all weaves together.
All right. Well, get me on that. Hook me up on that.
Okay, and it's like 10 minutes. It's such an easy
Okay.
commitment to make, so you can do it. Yeah, I love it.
Awesome. Awesome. So the next one we're going to discuss is just continuous learning. I get all excited once I go through a training, or like you and I were in LA a week and a half ago. There's just something about furthering your education to kind of empower what you already know. So if you're down, learn to offer something to others. And so I think that that is important. I'm a lifelong learner. Sometimes I learn too much. So I kind of have to scale back because I need to implement the things I learn. But I think it's important that if you're not getting educated or staying educated in what you're doing in your life, I think that's, you need to. I think it's important, and it will help your heart. I think it will heal your heart as well.
And I want to commend everyone that is watching or listening to this podcast, because you are doing this step. And I just want you to kind of pat yourself on the back a little bit, because I know whenever anytime I feel discouraged, I take an assessment of what am I putting in my brain? Am I binge watching something on Netflix or whatever that's not, that's maybe discouraging, maybe depressing or scary or whatever? Or am I looking to improve? Because it's kind of like the principle of what an object in motion tends to stay in motion. I believe that that's what happens when we're learning. Now, caveat to that is, if you're implementing, and be intentional about not getting overwhelmed with it. I think, Stephanie, you taught me this. You keep like a running list of things that's really good. I'm going to write that down, and then I'm going to revisit that whenever I'm doing some planning. And I'm going to implement what I can as I can.
Absolutely. So what I do is I have it in my phone where the good ideas, I'll just kind of keep a running log. And then when I am business planning, whether it be per quarter or per year, I'll go back and like highlight those areas that I think are really important that still stand out. And then you can take action on those. So I like to have those ideas, continuously coming in, but you can't really implement everything all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, and
So
don't feel guilty about it. I mean, I know a lot of people that are in our sphere, that's feedback that I hear is, there's so many trainings with EXP, which is our brokerage. I just feel like I'm always behind. I'm like, girl, don't feel like that. Just listen and learn, and take what you can use right now and write down what you can use in the future.
absolutely. So you kind of touched on our final note here. I think that digital detox is important. So, kind of like I was saying this morning during my doctor's appointment, I have to lay down when I have acupuncture or any testing or that kind of thing. You cannot have your phone. You cannot do anything other than just sit there. And I always feel more relaxed. I kind of want to fall asleep. So any time of the day when I'm laying down like that. So I think it's important for us to, turn off the social media. That is so tough, you guys. It is so tough. But if it's constantly going in your mind, that's all you're going to think about. So if you can shut it off at some point, give yourself a mental break, have your family shut down at dinner, those kind of things, I think it makes a difference.
Yeah, totally. And it's one that I don't practice very well. So it's something I should do way better at. And some tips I've heard in the past, and what I want to do is to be intentional with my social media. So whether that be like intentionally commenting, liking, sending messages, and viewing it like almost a time blocked, schedule, where, all right, in the morning, I'm going to do this with my social media. In the afternoon, I'm going to do this. And I'm going to post this way or this many times, and then set it down and not be worried about missing anything. I mean, honestly, like, if it's important, it'll come to you, right? So there's just so many things. And I think that that's part of the problem and addiction with all social media, is that fear of, oh, I'm going to miss what's going on.
Yeah, I think that's really important, is if it was meant for you, it'll find you. If you're not seeing it, it's probably God's protecting you from it, whatever the case is. But you're not going to miss anything. It's going to be okay. Someone will call you if they need you. I think that's my generation more, Brad and I were talking about that, when we were kids, it was, you go outside and play, you come home when the lights turn on, that means it's dinner time. Things were simple. And of course there were still challenges, but we didn't have to worry about this, like, you know, what did he or she say? Is someone doing more than me? Is someone doing less than me? All those kind of things. I mean, we have it on our phone to find out how to feel icky every day. I mean, if you
Yeah.
want to feel icky, you can go find it right now.
Yeah,
So,
it's definitely a choice. I agree. I mean, and it's a default choice because really it's human nature to look at others and to compare ourselves with others. But what if we intentionally, when we're commenting, liking, messaging people, what if our intention is I'm gonna run my list. If you weren't in the training yesterday with the inner circle, it was so good. Heather Klopmaker brought us some great tips and something she has shared. And in fact, I feel like Stefanie, you do this already, but she has in her notes a list of topics, a list of like call to actions, a list of text on screen. And she's obviously getting a lot of these, and she's inspired by other agents that she's following. That is fine to be inspired, but it's not okay to look into envy and to compare and to make ourselves feel less than or better than, right? I think the better way to look at these things is like, oh, that's really good. I think that'll work in my market. I'm going to write that down, and so you're actually maybe using it more as research. So if you have a research time for your social media, you can time block that. It's so much better than just scrolling mindlessly.
no, I agree with that. And what I have found as well is that if you are just feeling envy and icky, and jealous, and all those things are kind of coming up when you see a certain person or a product or whatever the case is, don't be afraid to snooze them, or those kind of things, because I'm happy for the people that I'm also envious of. So it's just like that conflicting kind of feeling. And that's where I'm like, you know what, this isn't good for me. I'm just, I love them. I do want happiness for them. It's just that feeling of, am I doing enough? Should I be doing more? That starts to make me feel envious, if that makes sense. So I think, snoozing those people is okay.
And sometimes it's not envy. Sometimes it's maybe reading in or making assumptions on things that they're doing or saying, right? And
Right.
so it just ask yourself, just have a self check. If Stefanie, I think you've even said this, and maybe Katie as well. Like, if when something comes up, if you get a pit in your stomach, you don't need to see that. You just remove. That's the beauty of social media, right? We can block, I'm not suggesting you go block everybody, but like you said, snooze. There's lots of different ways that you can control your feed, and that is important. That's another set of boundaries that it's okay for you to set for yourself.
One hint on that, when you do find that person that kind of does make you feel like, I don't know, makes me uneasy, before you snooze them, send them a message of encouragement, and then you can snooze them. So that just helps my heart. It's just like, I want awesome things for you, and I see what you're doing, and it's so powerful. I'm so proud of you. And of course you don't tell them that you're snoozing them, but then I snooze them. So it's just like, I'm releasing this. I am encouraging you. I want you to do great things, but I'm going to take a step back and just think about, myself and my family and my business.
Yeah, that's good. I love that. So this was such a fun podcast. I love having you back. Hopefully, moms, you got something out of this. Comment below, leave us a review, subscribe, all the things. Let us know how we're impacting your life and your business. By the way, this entire month of October, we are offering a free 30-day sneak peek of our inner circle, and that is the version that has access to our entire course library, all of the live trainings that you get to be on. So there's so many features and benefits to that. So if that's something, if you're not aware of it, click on the link and just go ahead and see what we're all about. So all right, moms, we will see you next week.
Bye, ladies.